Monthly I&R meeting for the month of April. And as always, we'll start with the invocation and pledge allegiance to the flag, if we can all stand. Praise God. Heavenly Father, we're so thankful to have this opportunity to come together here today. Encourage our hearts and uplift us and watch over us and touch each and every one within a very special way. Touch our country and our soldiers and all of our public safety folks. Help us all so that we might be able to help others and keep a hedge of protection and good health and safety around us all. As we ask it all this day, in the name of Christ our Savior. Amen. Amen. Attention to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. May be seated. Just a little housekeeping public service announcement that Ashley told me I need to do. When we talk, make sure that your mic is on. When you're not talking, you may want to make sure that the green light is off because there's a hot mic. So with that said, as we get started, we will open up with public input, and we've had 3 people to sign up for it. The very first one, Miss Amelia Woods. If you would, come to the podium, and you got 5 minutes.
Okay.
State your name, please, ma'am, even though we know it.
Thank you. My name's Amelia Wood, and I'm going to take this opportunity to also give you my phone number just in case anybody wants to call me and ask me about anything that I speak about today, and that includes people that are watching on the video or at home right now. My phone number is 843-340-1676. And I'll repeat that again at the end in case anybody wants to write it down. Okay. Good morning, friends, and especially my very own council member, Mr. Danny Hardy, who is my longtime friend. I thank him for being here today since he isn't actually a part of this committee. I appreciate that he's here and is watching what's happening and listening. Thank you, Danny. Okay. I have sent y'all a lot of stuff to read, a whole lot of stuff. I need to also say that everybody knows I'm part of a lot of different organizations. I'm not speaking on behalf of any of those organizations today. It's just my personal thoughts and comments that I wanted to share. So with that being said, I have sent y'all a lot of things. I've sent you some comments from the attorneys from all these organizations for all these organizations that I'm involved with. And I hope you've had a chance to read those. They're comments based on the Solid Waste Authority's application to fill wetlands. And the comments have a lot of alternatives in them, which I think y'all have been looking for some alternatives, which I appreciate. But, you know, I've sent you those comments. I've sent you some of my own comments. I've sent you a lot of stuff to read, but in a representative democracy, sometimes there's certain things that just need to be said out loud. And I've also heard comments from another council member who's not here that he didn't like hearing people beat up on the Solid Waste Authority, and I want you to know that that's not what I'm trying to do. But frequently, authorities like the Solid Waste Authority are criticized for bypassing democratic accountability. That's just something that happens with authorities because, they're just not in the light like a lot of other government functions are. So that's where the criticism comes from. It's because sometimes we just don't feel like we know everything about what's happening. Now, I want to remind you that the South Carolina Solid Waste Management Act of 1991 established some rules that require public participation in the planning process. And I don't think we're quite following those rules right now. If we were, and in the past, the Solid Waste Authority has followed those rules. And there hasn't been as much controversy when they were following those rules. But it all has to do with planning. And y'all probably know that I've been following the Solid Waste Authority activities since probably the ordinance 6090 was passed in December of 1990. And so, and I have been reviewing the formal plans that the Solid Waste Authority made, which were in line with that law. They were in line with the law. I've been reading them. I've got copies of every single one of them. In fact, I brought a visual aid today, lots of visual aids. I'm a former teacher, so I have visual aids. This is one that I was intimately involved with preparing in 1998. I have copies of all of them. Some of the copies that I have now are just electronic copies, but this is the Solid Waste Management Plan. And only 1 minute left, my goodness. Somebody's gonna have to call that number. Okay. Let me just talk about some alternatives then. In 1998, this book that I just showed you right here, there's one alternative, transfer stations is in that plan. That was one alternative. Okay, another alternative that was in the 2022 plan, and these are alternatives that were presented not by me, but by the Solid Waste Authority. In the 2022 plan, the alternative was to put the construction waste in with the municipal solid waste in the line landfill. That was an alternative. And interestingly, I have a couple more visual aids here. These are the budget books from this year and last year. Interestingly, the transfer station option was in last year's budget, and in this year's budget, it's not. And this year's budget leads the construction account to have like $30 million deficit, and last year's budget, there was a $6 million balance left. So the transfer station option seemed to be a less expensive option, but there are lots of alternatives, more than I have time to discuss right now. But I just want y'all to know that in the past, the Solid Waste Authority has presented some good alternatives on their own. And so, okay, one more request. There's going to be a workshop next week, and I'd just like to request that there be dialogue between not just the Solid Waste Authority and the council members, but between other interested parties, like the attorneys for the South Carolina Environmental Law Project, for all the organizations that care. You know, we'd like to have some dialogue about this in the absence of having been the plan being done correctly, because that would have allowed some public participation. If what's being done now is not in the book, it's not in the plan. We got to do a better job than that. So thank you very much for.
Thank you, Ms. Woods. Next up, you had to forgive me if I can't pronounce the last name. Miss Liz Makrowski?
Maturowski.
Okay.
Hello, good morning. So I'm going to be very direct. What's being proposed here regarding the data center is not protective, and it ignores lessons this county should have already learned. We already have industrial uses placed far too close to residential communities. In the Wild Wing and Carolina Forest areas, residents are living next to operations like King Asphalt, Coastal Concrete, and S&W Ready Mix Concrete, all in close proximity to homes. And in Merrill's Inlet, we see the same issue with Thomas Concrete located near residential development. These were not accidents. These were planning decisions. And now residents are living with the consequences: noise, dust, truck traffic, and ongoing concerns with air and water quality. What we're seeing isn't just growth, it's incompatible land use. Placing asphalt and concrete operations within 100 feet of homes ignores the 500 to 1,000 foot buffers that most communities rely on to protect residents from industrial impacts. So we're told that 200 feet from homes and 300 feet for equipment is sufficient for data centers. We have to ask, based on what experience? because our local experience shows the opposite. Data centers are not passive buildings. They operate 24/7 with industrial scale cooling systems and backup generators. These systems can reach 85 to 100 decibels at the source. And even when reduced over distance, they produce continuous low frequency noise, the type most strongly associated with sleep disruption and long-term stress. The World Health Organization recommends outdoor nighttime noise levels remain below 40 decibels to protect human health. So again, how does placing this type of infrastructure a few hundred feet from homes meet that standard? It doesn't. And other jurisdictions are recognizing this. For example, Henry County, Virginia recommends 500-foot setbacks from residential property along with additional buffering requirements. Across the country, many communities are moving toward at least 500 feet from residential land, 1,000 feet when including generators, substations, and cooling systems. And for large hyperscale campuses, 1,000 to 2,000 feet from neighborhoods, schools, parks, and hospitals. Anything less is not precaution, it's risk transfer. And that's exactly what this feels like. Residents are expected to absorb increasing industrial impacts while continuing to pay taxes into a system that is not prioritizing their health, their property, or their quality of life. So I'll ask this plainly. What is being done to address the impacts already experienced in places like Wild Wing? And why are we considering repeating the same pattern with new data center infrastructure? Because once these facilities are built, the impacts are permanent. Constant noise, increased pollution risks, and a measurable decline in quality of life for nearby residents. I strongly urge you to increase setbacks, require meaningful buffers, enforce real measurable noise limits, and protect critical water and environmental areas before approving projects of this scale. We cannot keep making decisions that look acceptable on paper, but fail residents in reality. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, next up, Ms. Renee Ruff.
Good morning, Council. My name is Renee Ruff. I've met and spoken with a lot of you recently on the Solid Waste Authority issue. Here we're talking about incompatible zoning. Again, incompatible zoning, heavy industrial next to residential, always with the grandfathering rights. What rights do the residents have? The taxpayers. We've learned some things from the VC Summer nuclear plant. Construction while in progress. No guarantee to rate holders of a viable product. Why are we going to do this with data centers? What are we going to implement in place so that the ratepayers do not have to pay for these data centers? They are billion-dollar companies. Let them pay their own way. Let them make their own infrastructure. Why are they going to be allowed to be placed on the municipality, putting stress on our water, our energy, with no guarantee again to the ratepayers? What guarantees do we have? What is the end for the data centers? Is it just a convenience? What are they giving to us? Cure for cancer? Cure for autism? Is this just mass surveillance? What is it that we get from the data centers other than pollution? The looped water systems, what guarantee do we have that that's not going to leach into the municipality? I think we need to ask some more critical questions. We do not have any experience with this going forward. There is scripture written on this, folks, about the rise of the machine. I think we need to ask ourselves some serious questions before we let AI play God. Let's consider all of these options moving forward in a serious manner. I beg you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Very, very good topics within our public input today. Moving along, we need a motion and approval for the agenda contents.
So, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion and approval for the minutes from the February 10th meeting.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to discussion items, recognizing Ms. Nicole Herrera for attending the Certified Parks and Recreation Professional designation. Mr. Ray Dunham, our Parks and Rec Director. Morning, sir.
Good morning. It's my privilege to be here this morning to recognize Nicole Herrera for attaining her Certified Parks and Recreation Professional designation. This is a designation that is awarded by the National Recreation and Parks Association, and it goes to show her dedication, expertise, and commitment to the industry. So if you would, please help me congratulate Nicole.
Congratulations, Ms. Smiley.
Thank you.
Good job. Moving right along, then Code Enforcement Department overview, Mr. Tommy Smith. He gets beat up a lot, so he gets to come up here and speak a little bit. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for those kind words, and very true with that statement. Mr. Chairman, I have prepared for you and the committee this morning a brief overview of the Code Enforcement's responsibilities, its employee composition, and related data which we produce. As you'll see, the Code Enforcement Department is comprised of 72 employees, 27 residential inspectors, 6 commercial, 4 fire inspectors, 7 plan reviewers, 18 administration staff with 10 supervisors, and currently our staff is 75% certified with our accredited agencies, which is ICC, and 25% being trained to do so. That is the highest number we've had since I've been in the department, going on 12 years. I'm very proud of that fact. Council gives us great resources to make sure that we have resources and funds to make sure that we're getting the adequate training that we're required to have. Next is the responsibilities that we have. Just wanted to briefly touch on this because we do a lot and some. So just to make you aware, we perform all the residential and commercial permitting and inspections for the county. The fire marshaling responsibilities are within our office for all existing buildings. Routine fire inspections of all existing commercial buildings. Floodplain management program is done through our office, along with the CRS program management through our office, along with the county's abatement program. The department also responds in the event of natural disasters to perform damage assessments when necessary, which is a vital part of redeeming assets back to our county. Next, Mr. Chairman, you'll see residential permits. These are for the 24-25 calendar year. As you'll see, we did have a decrease year over year, 25 to 24, where we issued 4,694 permits. But you'll also see there was an increase of all the other associated residential permits. Single family were down 20%, but if you take the uptick of the issuance of all the other residential permits, you'll see that we were only down 2.5% in the residential category. So we kind of stayed pace on that line, not just single family. A lot of people get caught up because that's all they see. They see the houses going up everywhere. But as you'll see here in just a moment, I'll show you all the residential, all the permits in total. Commercial permits year over year, we did issue 181 last year, which was a 20% increase, which is just indicative of all the explosive residential growth we've had over the last several years. You build it, it will come. Next, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I have for you total permits. As you'll see, we issued over 17,000 permits in 2025. And I always get asked the question, are we slowing down? We slow it down because everybody focuses on the residential permits, which as you see is a very small portion of the overall permits that we issue in total. So as you see, that's 17,103. which was a 5% decrease year over year, 25 over 24. As you'll see, the complaint cases, we were up 9% to 486. And we also, due to the abatement program that we managed through our office, we did 81 possible abatement complaints. Next, Mr. Chairman, you'll see the total inspections that we performed last year was over 123,000. That is a 10% decrease over year. With 123,360, that averaged 498 inspections on a daily average that we performed throughout the calendar year, with 1,857 routine fire inspections performed as well. Next, Mr. Chairman, I'm excited to announce to you and to the committee and to council the department's new EP&L software update that we're hopefully, we are going to roll out, scheduled for June 2nd. This software is going to increase our department's overall efficiency in all that we do and decrease our customers' burdens with their per meeting requirements. This program will allow our customers to deal with us digitally without having to come to our office. They'll be able to submit online, monitor the whole process online, make payments online, receive their permit and plans online. They will be also to be able to schedule their inspections online and monitor the history of those inspections. And all that being said, they won't have to come down to our office or make a phone call to our office to obtain or get any of that information. All that being said, we're still going to be open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 every day that we're told to be open. We will be. Customers will always be allowed to come into our office. We'll deal with them one-on-one because we understand that there's a big education responsibility that we have to explain to these people how this process works and to get through it. That service will never go away. But in all intents and purposes, this is our effort and the county's effort to help eliminate those burdens and prioritize our customers' number one asset, which is their time, by eliminating their travel and time on their phones dealing with us. All allow them to do this from their home, their office, or from any other place they deem suitable to handle their business. So therefore, just making it a win-win for everybody and monitoring our process. And I'm thankful for council because this was an effort that required resources and funding. We've had continued great support with that. So I'm very, very excited to that. With all I have presented to you this morning, Mr. Chairman, I can assure you that the Code Enforcement Department strives with every transaction to make sure that customer service is our number one priority and the cornerstone of what we do every day. I'm in continued communication with my division leaders, and we're always discussing trends and changes to make sure that we are appropriately staffed with resources or provided resources to handle the changes, the needs within our industry, to make sure we're always appropriately positioned to handle what those demands bring, and that we're always prioritizing what our customers will need when they come to our office. With all that, Mr. Chairman, that's my presentation in a nutshell. I'll entertain any questions you may have.
Very, very good. And so, Tommy, with all the growth that we have and with all that y'all are tasked with and stuff, y'all have a stressful job. And so if you've got one of the most stressful departments in Sylvan County, you do a good job, and a lot of people are constantly complaining about it and stuff, but the market is what's driving this growth. And it's up to your department to make sure that that growth is done orderly and safely. And it's up to us as a council to hopefully make sure and so that you have the tools that you need. Someone else from the committee? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say that I'd like you to come to our administrator and just give him a list of everything you need all the time. I know he doesn't want to see it, but you can't do your job like the Mr. Chairman just said without the tools. I wish we had those computers in place 10 years ago.
Yes, sir.
But we want you to have everything. Public safety, same way. Building department, same way. I mean, we've got to have it for y'all.
Well, I thank you, Mr. Howard, and I can honestly tell you that in my communication with my division leaders, Mr. Gilreath and Mr. Roth, I'm assured that every day, or when I've asked. I've always been asked. I've never hardly ever been told no. Might have to be a little creative in how we go about doing it, but we've always got to where we want it to be. Our staffing levels are adequate. I think we're in line with our ISO requirements as we are currently staffed, and all that's to do with y'all because we have substantially grown the department over the last 5 years with a substantial investment from this county into our department. It's very substantial. You go over, I'm sure Mr. Spivey can give you those numbers, but y'all have made that investment into us to keep us to the level so that we're doing what we need to do effectively and efficiently.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir.
Get to work, Barry.
Yes, sir. Anyone else? Got to be a busy time. One of the largest geographical counties east of the Mississippi and one of the fastest growing and stuff. Y'all do a yeoman's job. Thank you.
We try to every day. Thank you.
All righty.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
I
sir.
apologize. We have a video
Okay.
to demonstrate a little bit what we do.
My name is Tom Keller, and I am the Commercial Chief Inspector for Horry County. My duties include supervising a team of upcoming 6 commercial building inspectors and 3 fire inspectors. We look for code requirements, engineer prescriptive installments, so make sure that everything is in compliance. And again, this building is protected with a fire sprinkler system. See up there? On an average, we inspect between 450 and 500 inspections daily. This commercial and residential. I want to go look at the new hospital that's being constructed currently in Carolina Forest. There are a lot of components to this here.
My name is Brian Wright, and I'm a commercial inspector. We're looking at the DWV, which is a drain waste vent. The plumbing from the 2nd floor comes in here. We've already made our way around the building. We're coming in through here and following Nick around, one of the plumbers, putting in a vent. Yeah. So this is a busy day. I had 3 inspections today. That was plumbing. We're also going to look at framing and some mechanical, some ventilation info. This is somewhere mechanical equipment's going, electrical room. These are going to be fire rated walls. This wall isn't required to be fire rated because it's outside. There's no roof.
I'm Charles Merriam with the Horry County Code Enforcement Commercial Division. We inspect commercial properties only, which includes very large buildings, small buildings, and multifamily. We have to watch how they do it to make sure that the pressure points for all the weight of the building are resting where they belong. And that's the reason for this huge chunk of wood underneath. A lot of what we do in multifamily is fire safety, and it's because people are sleeping here. If one were to catch on fire, somebody leave a pot on the stove. There's all kinds of safety features built in. There's little dampers in the vents that shut the room down so that it can't make it into the next level. Everywhere in the walls, in case the electrical goes mad, there's going to be fire caulk up top in the corners. Dryers cause a lot of fire. So in a situation like this, we have, again, the fire caulk around at the bottom where it connects, and then up top where it goes through the plate, and then that's in between the 2 units. And then the orange pipe there is a sprinkler system because of the number of units and the size of the building. The insulation on that pipe there is because it's going to get hot drying your clothes. We don't want it touching the water pipe. We are primarily concerned with safety and life safety.
That is code enforcement in a nutshell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very, very good. So question and point, so before you sit down. Y'all are responsible for all inspections of all buildings within the county except for public schools, correct?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Because they fall underneath the state law, and so the county
Office
has
of
no
School Facilities.
jurisdiction over it. A lot of the people do not know that in the
Yes, sir.
public, and so, but I want to make that point.
The Office of School Facilities handles all permitting and inspections of construction. And then the State Fire Marshal Office currently has the responsibility of performing all their routine and yearly fire inspections, all strictly done by state agencies.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good job. Moving right along to resolutions. With the first one, Ms. Jamie Norman, Ms. Quiet Jamie. This is a resolution that will have to have an amendment, which you should have before you there. Go ahead, Ms.
Yes, so the first resolution we have is for Town Fire Project. Bids on this project have exceeded the original approved budget of $2,576,000. The new estimated cost is $2,876,000. We're requesting that the additional $300,000 needed to cover these associated costs be added to the budget from interest income on our GO 2022A bond series. We appreciate your consideration of this request.
Have a motion?
Motion to amend to the form.
Motion to amend, second. Any discussion on it? Any discussion on it, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okey dokey.
Will you vote on the amended version?
Voted on the amended version. He made a motion to amend it.
He amended.
Okay.
No, but I think he's right. Point of order. I think we have to vote on the amended version.
Right.
So,
So,
a motion to pass the amended version.
So moved.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Moving right along. Item B, a resolution to authorize transfer of funds from the Capital Improvement Program contingency account to the Ainer Recreation Center project to fund additional costs associated with the new Recreation Center and site amenities. Ms. Norman.
All right, so this next resolution is for Ainer Recreation Center. You also have an amended copy of that resolution in front of you. Due to a scope change, which added fields, field lighting, concession stand, and walking trail alternatives, the project has increased to $14.5 million from the previous $11 million. We are requesting that the additional $3.5 million needed to cover these associated costs be added to the budget from the following funding sources. $415,000 from interest income on our GO 2024A series bond, $500,000 from the Recreation CIP contingency, $735,000 from Recreation Sunday alcohol sales revenue projects, and $1,850,000 from the General CIP contingency. And again, we appreciate your consideration of this request.
Make a motion to amend the resolution to the form that we've been presented.
All in favor of the motion to amend?
Aye.
Okay, now motion back to the original.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Norman. Moving right along to ordinances. Under item A, an ordinance approving and authorizing the county administrator to execute a lease agreement with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources for certain county-owned office space at the old Ainer Fire Station. Mr. Howdy.
Yes, sir. Approximately 5 years ago, DNR was looking for some space in the Ainer area to locate a facility out there. They leased some space in the old Ainer Fire Station, and that's proven to be very successful. They've requested to renew that lease for an additional 5 years. South Carolina Department of Administration has provided the attached lease, which is their standard form, and the terms are virtually identical to what they currently have.
You have a motion in discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Question, Bill, and so you had a question?
Yeah, no question. DNR, in the past, they've offered monies to us from certain sources for building certain things that we want, like a firing range, I think, wasn't it, Mr. Spivey, firing range, and we didn't get that money, did we?
We did have a discussion with them several years ago about that source, but I guess we chose not to move forward.
Right.
What we do have on an annual basis is various programs related to boat landings and various other things we do from a recreational standpoint that we do participate in.
So they participate quite heavily
Yes,
in funds?
yes. And our local delegation also has a amount of money that is allocated for those outdoor type uses that we are able to go against or go towards for several projects on the recreation side also.
Thank you.
Any further? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Moving right along to item B. An ordinance approving and authorizing the county administrator to execute lease agreements with TVPX Trust, Falcon Flight Academy, Blue Horizon Aviation, and Leadership in Flight Training Academy for space within the general aviation terminal buildings at Myrtle Beach International Airport and Grand Strand Airport. Mr. Ryan Betcher.
Right. Good morning. So this item for consideration is to propose lease agreements with TVPX Trust, Falcon Flight Academy, Blue Horizon, and also Leadership in Flight Academy for various office and support spaces within the general aviation terminals at MYR and CRE. So each of these 4 businesses are existing commercial operators or aeronautical operators, and they'll use these to support their existing operations at the respective airport. All of these spaces were previously vacant, and the airport intends to limit any of these spaces to be leased out or any future leases within the FBO buildings just to aeronautical users. So essentially, we don't intend to basically lease them out to the public. It'll be restricted to businesses that have a purpose at the FBOs. The agreements are structured on a month-to-month basis, and it specifies the per square foot rate to be $36 at MYR and $26.81 at CRE, and that's an annual per square foot rate. In establishing these rates, the airport staff considered various other rates within the county airport system. We looked at other FBOs. We also kind of took into consideration the specifics of these spaces, as well as any operating limitations. We do believe they're fair and reasonable for the spaces and for the operators. Language was also included in the agreements, which allow for periodic rate adjustments, similar to what we did for the updated hangar storage rates last year. That will be at the discretion of the county. An amount was not included in there, so we'll be able to have a little bit of flexibility with that, but likely what we'll use is the CPI adjustments annually. Those are the highlights of the agreements, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Go ahead, Ben.
Did we not, what kind of companies is Blue Horizon, the Falcon Flight Academy? Do they have airplanes too, and they train them?
They do, and so they do a flight of training at these airports.
And did we not?
They're small, 1 to 2
Did
employees.
we not have some issues with too much traffic in there for a lot of these flight, training flights?
Well, I believe that most of these are probably located at Strand Airport in Suffolk, correct, Ryan?
Yes, sir, that's correct. So these are
Yes, sir.
both just like recreational type flight training. It's not a commercial type operation, and our limitations are more so at Myrtle Beach Airport, not necessarily Grand Strand.
But do they not fly from Strand over to the international land and go
Oh, yeah.
touch and go? And is this not what we got to be careful about on, the traffic coming, the major traffic, not holding up the commercial flights? And
We do, and so, but there's not a whole lot that they can do about that, and so, because that's federal with the FAA, and if it's a federally funded airport, they have a right to access it. And so,
absolutely, I understand that. But when we create more space for them and give them luxury of being right here in the Myrtle Beach, Horry County, they might move more crafts into the area.
we can ask them to, we could ask staff to work with them and ask them to limit their certain times and stuff
I
of
just
their
want to make
usage.
sure y'all are happy with what you are doing and not going to interfere with your future growth.
We are, so you're absolutely correct. Flight training has always been sensitive, especially the last 2 years, specifically with Myrtle Beach. Mr. Allen is correct that we can't necessarily limit aeronautical users.
Right.
We really don't have any more office spaces available at Grand Strand Airport, so there won't be additional spaces that are provided. I think we're comfortable with the amount of flight training that they're currently doing. And because they don't originate at Myrtle Beach, ultimately they're at the discretion of the tower as to whether the tower allows them to come in or not. Just because they're not originating at Myrtle Beach, it's almost more of an inconvenience for them to do touch and goes at Myrtle Beach.
Don't we have a transportation committee chaired by Dennis D. Sabato that might have some comment about this?
I'm going to defer to staff's recommendation with regard to whether or not the increased traffic is going to be problematic for the international airport. Doesn't sound like it will be. But the airports are under the purview of the INR department, Mr. Howard, so, yeah.
Transportation.
Mr. Mike Massarelli.
Mr. Betcher, how are you today?
Very good. How are you?
All right. Over the past year, you and I and Ms. Olmsted have had substantial amount of conversations about goings on at the airports and dangers and trying to eliminate in the future. So in your opinion, I know you can never say never, would you say that leasing to these people and what they're going to be doing for all intents and purposes, you're comfortable with?
I believe, speaking on behalf of the airport, we're comfortable.
And again, you
with
can
it.
never say never,
Yeah,
so
never
it's
say
not
never.
holding your feet to the fire.
It is a general aviation service that does need to be here. We have a lot of recreational pilots or individuals that want to get their private pilot's license or people that are working towards that certification. So it is something that most airports or large kind of areas have some form of flight training. These are much smaller than the group that we were talking about in Myrtle Beach last year. So like they're not anticipated to grow to nearly the scale or the frequency of operations. And because it is at Grand Strand Airport, we have much less activity up there. So I think we're comfortable with it. Anything kind of above and beyond, or when it does start branching over to MYR, that is where we get a little bit more concerned. But because they're originating at Grand Strand, I think we're fairly comfortable with it.
Okay. Well, we always say that we've got the best run airport in the country. So if they put this together and they're comfortable with it,
Is there
I
an
think we
end
should be.
date on this lease?
It's a month-to-month agreement, and these are just
month-to-month.
for office spaces. So they would potentially operate here either way, because we're not technically allowed to limit aeronautical users, but they're month-to-month. So if the county decides in a couple months or a year or at any point that it's not working out or we need to recapture these lease areas, we can do that.
Well, we support you.
Okay,
Thank you.
you.
Where's your check fly out?
All right, motion, Sheridan, all in favor?
Aye.
Good job. And so now I don't believe there's gonna be a lot of flying recently, Bill, until these fuel prices come down. Jet fuel's over $7 a gallon. Ouch.
Well, if they
Thank
can
you,
afford-
Ryan.
If
Good
they can
job.
afford an airplane, they can afford the fuel.
You'd be surprised. All righty. Next up is item C, an ordinance amending Article 279-1114 of the zoning ordinance of Horry County, South Carolina pertaining to data centers. Ms. Heather Day.
Good morning. It's important to note that we did look at other jurisdictions, particularly Fairfax, Virginia. Our zoning ordinance does not currently include standards specific to data centers, so we don't have a place for them. We're trying to find a place for them to be allowed within our county. The proposed text amendment would define data centers and related accessory uses, establish standards including separation from residential, screening requirements, limit the building size based on zoning district. So up to 80,000 square feet in limited industrial and limited manufacturing and industrial district, and up to 200,000 square feet in general manufacturing and industrial district, heavy intense manufacturing and industrial district, and heavy industrial. Also, we will require a special exception for facilities exceeding 200,000 square feet in MA2, MA3, and HI. Any questions?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. I noticed over the years out west, some of these big data centers are now, the electrical grids are making them put in their own electrical, their own power plants, their own, I don't understand why does it take so much electrical? Do we even have that capacity here with Santee Cooper or Horry Electric? Would that be?
I think you'd have to ask them that, so, because we're not in the electrical business. And they're pushing theirs out now.
Now, are these
to the
data,
limit.
is a data center something, it's a big building with a bunch of computers in it, with very little labor?
So
employees?
actually, over time, they've changed. So they're not just the huge warehouse style buildings anymore. They can be as small as like a shipping container. So they can be really small and rented out to various tenants. So they're not necessarily huge buildings with computers. They're now smaller versions. They can be.
Up to 200,000 square feet, they could go that big in our ordinance?
Yes, sir.
That's, how big is the one out at our center out at the air base?
DC block.
Yeah, what's it called?
DC block.
DC block. Yeah, that's a pretty big one, isn't it?
It's 48,000 square feet.
48,000?
And they have plans to expand it to 100,000.
So they'll have 150,000 something. Yeah.
But that's where subsea comes in, correct?
Yes, subsea cables.
Would we be anticipating any subsea cables going to any other data centers out in the western part of the county? Probably not likely, right?
No idea.
I have a couple questions unless you got
No,
more.
go ahead. I'll give you the floor, Mr. DeSabato.
Thank you, Bill. Just so the public is clear, this is not an ordinance that is locating an actual data center. This is just a text amendment to help identify what types of zonings would be allowed what types of zonings data centers would be allowed into, correct?
Yes.
And then if a data center wanted to locate in an area that wasn't in one of these classifications, they would have to seek rezoning, and it would be upon us to determine whether or not that's appropriate, correct? I heard a lot of comments about the quality of life issues earlier today, and so I'm wondering if the text amendment in and of itself is enough to help mitigate the quality of life concerns for communities that may be near proposed locations for data centers. In your opinion, do you think that these text amendments go far enough to help address those concerns?
So just to give some background on this, we are just looking at the size, and we have been notified that the state is looking on 2 different bills that regulates the permitting and all those requirements. So once we have the location, we will have some floating type of district that will relate to the state's requirement, and state will take care of the water quality and air quality and all those requirements. So they have to meet those.
Well, then that begs the question, would it be prudent to wait and see what the state legislation looks like prior to approving any sort of data centers in our county?
So right now, how we are treating them are similar to the industry, heavy industry, and heavy industry typically has separation requirements. So looking at these, allotting them in the heavy industry, I think they will meet those requirements, but we are not considering anything as Councilman asked about the water quality of Santee Cooper. It will be on them.
And then I guess my last question is, if we were to pass this, would we also have the ability to further offset impacts created by data centers through development agreements with the data centers themselves? Requiring them to pay for any mitigation of effects that might arise from the location of the data center? That might be a question for you, David.
More than likely, this would be like solar. When that came through 4 or 5 years ago, by right, they could have built the solar. However, they're going to need some kind of fee in lieu or special source revenue credit to make it financially feasible. So you'll more than likely review any data center that comes in.
Will there not be an acreage exception? You know, there has to be so many acres that, as Mr. DeSabata said. As Mr. DeSabata said, when we talk about the development agreement, it's going to have to be X amount of acres to enforce that or to make that viable?
Just wondering if we could further strengthen this in such a way as to help require the offset.
If you want to require the offset, then it probably should be for everybody, then it should be in the ordinance.
And defer.
Mark, did you have something to add?
I think it's been answered. My question was going to be if are these in the LI districts is not conditional uses, so we're not going to get to look at each individual one. But as we've talked to Horry Electric on one in the past, we always defer to them, and they can ultimately make the final decision on the effects going forward as far as what it puts on the system and their requirement, correct? I mean, do we need it to be conditional, or can it just automatic? It'd be using these LI districts. And the next thing, I mean, if we put them in these industrial parks, we've already got the buffering and we've already got them established versus a rezoning.
Yeah, I wonder if we should even eliminate light industrial from the equation and just leave it in manufacturing, heavy industrial. I would imagine that there are more light industrial zoning areas closer to residential neighborhoods than there are heavy industrial or manufacturing areas close to residential neighborhoods. And so perhaps the thing we can do to help get ahead of it is eliminate light industrial from the equation altogether.
What are industrial parks? What are they zoned?
Most of them are all these districts. They are light industrial and MA2 and heavy too. Combination of those.
I mean, I think those are feeding places probably. to allow. Could it be in our industrial parks, they are allowed under the other conditions, but maybe for a rezoning or outside of the industrial park for just a LI zoning district is just sitting out in the middle of wherever? Maybe not. Could we keep them off of those, maybe?
Yeah, is there a way to craft it in such a way that the light industrial use can only be utilized by a data center in a pre-existing industrial park?
We can make that if you want, but as Heather explained earlier, there are different types of data centers. So the concerns, I think they're mostly on hyperscale. There might be some of the normal one, which doesn't have that much impact. So we might need to look into that. And if council wants it, we can do it.
I understand the need for this, and I understand, why we want to get ahead of the issue, 100%. What I'm concerned about is creating situations where zoning of a right can be a negative impact on surrounding communities. And so, is there a way to tailor this in such a way that helps prevent that from happening as we go forward? I mean, for all intents and purposes, a data center can locate off of 501 in Carolina Forest, and I don't know if that's an appropriate location for that, and we wouldn't have any control over that because it would be zoning of a right. And I'm thinking specifically of some of those parcels on Postal Way. Now, I don't think that's going to happen because there's already people planning uses for those parcels, but it could happen in other parts of the county where this is an unintended consequence. So what can we do to help push it into a certain area and keep it away from residential uses as much as possible?
And I'm glad you asked that question. We are also, as a part of our comprehensive planning process, we're looking at industrial corridors. So this will be treated similar to industrial corridors. So if we finalize those industrial corridors, that would answer some of those questions.
Just one more, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you took LI out,
Yeah.
Because that's the hodgepodge industrial
Right.
from the 80s and the 90s, and left it in the MA2, MA3, because that has been, those are the most recent rezonings for industrial that in theory should be placed better than the old LI was. I think you eliminate a lot of those concerns. And then have the LI parcels have to come in and rezone if they want a data center.
And to be fair, I mean, a data center is probably one of the less offensive uses that could be put in the LI district, I would say. So I don't know about a lot of the argument. I mean, I would rather have that than a lot of things that are allowed in LI.
1,000%,
Yeah.
but at the same time, the location of these LIs are sort of everywhere. You know what I mean? Would it make sense? Sorry, one more question, and then I'll turn it over. Would it make sense to create a new zoning classification for data centers? And then, what is that would then be constitutional taking, perhaps.
I think you'd be okay on the constitutional question. In general, planning, not to speak for the planning director, they do not like any new districts. We have 64 zoning districts, which is a lot to keep up with. So if you can put it into a MA2, MA3 HI, which would be maybe overkill, honestly, for a data center, that should be a safe place to be.
We're working on some good buffer ordinances too to help as far as the buffering.
We're trying.
To protect the rural parts of the county.
Sure.
Mike, you have something?
If you remember, about 4 years ago, we had a conversation about a particular AI company that I started reading about these data centers and the AI a number of years ago. And one of the things that I've learned is they require an enormous amount of water. These centers run extremely high temperatures, constant cooling. So some of the subjects that the ladies that spoke brought up about the water, it is an enormous drain. The amount of power that they take. And these places don't have to be big. You can build a large development and a small data center can eat up the same amount of water for cooling these systems. and the need for electricity as a large development does. And Mr. DeSabato had mentioned earlier, maybe we needed to defer this and really take a step back and look at, with a fine-tooth comb, what we're looking to approve and where these should go. So if you're putting, there just happens to be a particular zoning, but it is in close proximity, and there's water issues already of water pressure and things that we hear constantly, this may just not be appropriate. And of course, I don't want to poo-poo technology growth, but these are only going to get more and more prolific as we move into the AI world, this type of thing. So I would think really, my opinion, we should defer it and examine it further, as Dennis had first suggested. I would agree with him.
Yeah, I mean, just to add on that, I don't think doing nothing is an option, right? We need to do something.
Right.
But I guess my question is, why is this coming up now? Is there something imminent that we're not aware of, or can we defer this and more closely examine it?
The planning department had been approached by somebody, from my understanding with Horry Electric, or from talking to them, Horry Electric had been pursuing it as well, trying to get that to happen. They had met with Grand Strand on the water requirements, which blew my mind, how, like you were saying, how much water they take, and they had worked through that. And then when they came to us on planning, we said, we don't have a place for you to go.
Is the EDC involved in this at all?
I'll let them talk.
Okay.
I don't think she's here.
Okay.
How far along is this, or was this conversation started?
Or should we go into an executive session to discuss this any further?
That probably would be best.
Motion to enter into executive session.
I would just like to make a statement that in addition, we're working on this because when it does pass state law, we will have to go through this process anyway. So we were just trying to be ahead of the curve. That is so kind of why we're doing it as well.
Have a motion on the floor to go into executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We
time, so we apologize. Back, need a motion to come out.
Motion. So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
While in executive session, council engaged in the discussion of matters relating to proposed location expansion of combined services. Encouraging location or expansion of industries or businesses to the area. While in executive session, no decisions were made and no votes were taken.
Mr. DeSabato, you have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that we table this ordinance, giving all of us an opportunity to learn more about how this will actually work. I do want to also just put on the record that if and when this does get laid back onto the table, that the future ordinance remove LI from consideration for any proposed data center uses. And I also just want to apologize to the committee and everybody else. I have a work engagement that's going to require me to leave right now, so I won't be able to address any of the other agenda items today. However, if given an opportunity to just mention something really quickly of the options with regard to the impact fee, I just wanted on the record that my preferred option would be option C. And with that, I will.
So noted.
Yeah.
Second.
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Good job, Dennis.
Moving right along, trying to save some time. Item D, an ordinance amending Articles 2, 11, and 14 of the zoning ordinance of Horry County, South Carolina pertaining to counseling facilities that distribute prescription medication on site in psychiatric hospitals. Ms. Desiree Jackson.
Good morning, everyone. This ordinance is about hospitals and how they provide inpatient medical care and related health services. And the proposal is to combine psychiatric hospitals and counseling facilities that dispense medication on site into that use category. This would allow them as all healthcare facilities, including hospitals and psychiatric hospitals, as a special exception use, which would go before our Zoning Board of Appeals in our retired zoning districts of TRS, Highway Commercial, OPI, and EIO. And it would allow them as a by right permitted use in our newer zoning districts of ME1 and ME2. Any questions?
Any questions? Need a motion?
So moved.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Moving along to item E, an ordinance amending Articles 2 and 9 of the zoning ordinance of Horry County, South Carolina pertaining to passenger and product transportation divisions. Mr. Stevie Brown.
Good morning. This proposed text amendment would amend Articles 2 and 9 as it relates to PA1 zoning district. It would allow the accessory outdoor storage as a conditional use within the PA1 zoning district. Currently, right now, PA1 is not listed in our zoning ordinance as a district that allows accessory outdoor storage. But pretty much every use allowed in the district would require you to have accessory outdoor storage. So this would fix that inconsistency. It would also establish standards for the outdoor storage. It would include limitations on the materials that would be allowed to be stored outside. And also, while we had the ordinance open, we've seen some additional uses that would be consistent with the intent of PA1 district that we added into the district, which was linen supply and industrial laundry, trade shops with contractors' offices, warehousing, bulk landscape material supplier, and gas stations.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Question. Hit your mic button, Mike.
Mr. Brown, how many of these districts, these PA1s, would you say are in the county and on top of residential developments?
I'm not 100% sure, but I know there's not very many, maybe a couple.
So a couple in like 2 or a couple in 20? I mean,
A couple
obviously-
in like 2.
That few, okay.
Yes, sir. There may be more than 2, but there's not very many. I don't have that number in front of me.
Any further question, comments? Have a motion? Okay, go ahead.
Of the few, so you're obviously aware of a couple, and I'm assuming that somebody out there is wanting to be able to put one of those types of facilities in those districts. Are any of them on top of a neighborhood?
We just had one that was, that tried to do that, and it was turned down at Planning Commission for the rezoning. So you'll be seeing that at council coming up with a recommendation of disapproval from.
All right, so the reason that the planning commission turned it down was why?
It was near some residences, and a lot of the people in the community came out.
Okay, so if we approve this, then we're gonna give them carte blanche to come back and go there.
No, sir, that wouldn't change that at all.
Okay.
Anything further? Have a motion on the floor to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All righty, moving right along. Item F, an ordinance amending Articles 2, 4, 9, and 14 of the zoning ordinance of Horry County, South Carolina pertaining to commercial center sales, rental, lease vehicles, and equipment.
Yes, this proposed text amendment would amend articles that you just mentioned as they relate to commercial centers. It would allow the sale, rental, or lease of vehicles and equipment on the same parcel as a commercial center where both uses are permitted by zoning. It would establish minimum standards for display area and parking. It would create and define a use category for commercial centers, and we would be updating the related definitions. Right now, under today's standards, sale, rental, lease of any type of vehicles, golf carts, boats, RVs, etc., is not allowed within a commercial center. This change would allow these uses on the same parcel as a commercial center in situations where we have parcels that's large enough to accommodate for that use. We would require a certain amount of use area for storage and display, and that use area would not be allowed to interfere with the parking requirements for that area. It would have to meet the standards to be able to house all of it.
Have a motion? Any discussion? Question? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving right along to item G, an ordinance amending Article 3 of the zoning ordinance of Horry County, South Carolina pertaining to zoning map amendments. Mr. Brown again.
All right, this proposed text amendment would amend Articles 3 and Section 302 as it relates to who can initiate amendments to the zoning maps. It will clarify that the zoning map amendments may be initiated by Planning Commission, County Council, the zoning administrator, and the planning director. This is something that was in our zoning ordinance previously and was mistakenly taken out during the rewrite of this section back in 2020. We didn't realize until recently that it had gotten left off. We realized that now, and now we're adding it back in. This is saying the same thing as it already said previously.
Have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Discussion?
One question.
Okay.
I never realized until recently that I thought a property owner was the only one that could initiate a rezoning. I mean, do we want planning commission members to be allowed to initiate rezonings? Do we even, I mean, I know maybe in some cases we may want to, but.
Right.
Good point.
I agree. That's a very good point.
Is what?
That's a state requirement.
Pulling it up.
Okay.
I never knew that.
Would you limit it to council?
I think it's a statute.
It's state. I'm pulling it up.
But if it is initiated, it still has to come through council, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Ultimately, y'all have the final vote.
Right.
No matter who initiates it.
If y'all good, we can move on with it. Good. We got a motion on the floor.
You good with it?
You good, Bill? Y'all good? You can't find that. Move forward.
Because it's just first, right?
We can address
It's just first reading.
We can address it at first.
Yeah.
And either way, y'all have to vote on the rezoning, no matter
Okay.
who it's initiated by.
All in favor? Aye. Moving on. All righty. Getting down to the last one and probably the big one. An ordinance 30-2026, an ordinance pursuant to the South Carolina Development of Impact Fee Act Code of Laws of South Carolina, 1976, as amended, Title 6, Article 9, Chapter 1, Horry County, South Carolina is authorized to impose reasonable development impact fees for systems necessitated by new development. Raj.
Good morning, Council. I'm going to go over a brief overview. I presented this at the spring budget retreat that you all see. So I'm going to go over the major items from there. So as I explained at the budget retreat, this is our single-family residential permit trend, and our Code Enforcement Director, Thomas Smith, did a good job today explaining what all permits Code Enforcement deals with. So this chart is just one of the single family, not multifamily or any of those. So we started impact fee in 2022, and the single family permit kept at the pace, and then we projected the 2026 to be around 5,700. And this is our active residential dashboard, out of which 45,900 units are approved, and 30,000 are single family, and 15,000 are multifamily. And looking at the initial study of impact fee, the proposed fee for single family maximum supported was around 1,280, which would be our current fee, that is 1,236. So the objective is to continue collection, and you all had the first reading, and it's following the process going to INR and then goes to the Planning Commission and then come back to you. This is our impact fee dashboard. Each color you see is based on the fiscal year, the oldest to the newest, as you have to spend first in, first out basis. And this is our impact fee revenue and expenditure. So far, we have collected around 34 million with revenue, and these are till 2025. But I do have the updated figures till March of 2026. So we have collected approximately 40 million, out of which we have spent 15 million, and 24 was the fund balance, but we have appropriated 6 million. So you're looking at 17 million fund balance for specific category that amount was collected. So you can't spend on anything else. And these are few impact fee projects. This is boat landing, Saucus Recreation Park, and our fire rescue stations, Nixonville, Forest Brook. And then this is our recycle center project, and few of our beach restrooms. So this is our current fee schedule, and this is the proposed fee schedule, and you'll see a couple changes where the single family, multifamily is not there anymore. It's broken down into the square foot, and then we have several options. Here, this is the maximum supported fee by the study that was conducted, and option A would be the maximum without transportation, and option B would be service level adjustments for each category, and same as option C, different adjustment. And then option Tyler Servant, this one has different modifications in the pink, so we came up with these options. And we also ran a revenue comparison for each option based on the FY25 permits we received for single family. So in total, if we have adopted the maximum supported fee, option A, we would have collected 16 million, but we collected 6.5 million, that is our current fee. And each option is the projection how much we would have collected based on 25 permits. And here you're looking at the projected revenue based on those units that I just told that are approved, how much you're looking at collecting approximately in 7 to 9 years if we keep up the same pace of 5,000 permits per year. So you're looking at these options, how much you're collecting. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Motion to send on discussion. Because we're gonna send this on to council, correct?
What would make us, when we're choosing an option?
Do we have to choose an option in the subcommittee and stuff? Because the council and stuff, you can always change it, correct?
I believe at first reading at the Budget Retreat Council amended that ordinance to include the TS option.
Okay.
So that's where it sits today, is the TS option.
Are you having any problems, I mean, as far as spending the money, any issues with running on it? Is it 3 years to identify and 7 to spend? Is that how?
The 3 and the 7 are very important numbers. We have to spend it within 3 years of when it is programmed in our CIP. So it's a little more flexible than you may think. It's not from the day of collection. The 7 years is from the day of collection, it has to be spent.
But I mean, no problem so far, we've been able to.
With the selections we have made in terms of what we're funding, it has not been an issue for us, no.
Mr. Berry,
Hit your mic button there, Bill.
we really need to rely on staff and administration to guide us, which would be the best. Y'all worked it and studied it and built it, and what is your recommendation for these options? Even though we can make a different selection, but what is your recommendations?
We thought the will of council was to keep it as consistently as possible with our existing fee structure, as well as trying to give any relief we can for those commercial operations. And that's why we developed the option B and C, which was shared with you earlier. I think one of those two options would be the one that met those objectives as we understood them prior to the budget retreat.
And which one of those two? Let's narrow it down.
I think we would be comfortable with either. I think the one that gives the most relief is option C to the commercial side. But to keep more on the residential side, you are going to impact the commercial side. I mean, just the way the allocations occur there, the public safety is the main driver in the commercial type values.
Thank you for your opinion.
Okay.
You didn't mention the TC that you said we'd voted on.
Do
y'all like that over the options you had, or where are we at with that?
The TS is what you did vote on, which essentially maximizes the both the recreational and the waste management, and attempted to keep the commercial equal with where we were. So that does meet that objective. It just doesn't lower the impact to the commercial side.
Go ahead, Mike. Hit your button.
So the TS is going to give us the revenue for the recreation.
Higher revenue for recreation and waste management recycling.
Which we need. You know, you're getting a park out there, and I think, Mark, you've got getting a park out there. If you look at our schools, we're teaching out of trailers in every school. So even though we have a lot of retirees moving here, the youth population's going up. We see on the news all the problems that we're having with kids. So we've got to have these parks for these people to go to. And I get wanting to try to keep the impact down to a degree on business. You know, I'm a business owner, but quite honestly, I don't know too many businesses, if they had to pay another $500 or $1,000 to operate a business, that would not do it. It's the reason they're going into business. A lot of them are expanding business. They're opening up new locations. So obviously they're making money. And we don't want to raise taxes. We always have that issue. So it's got to come from somewhere.
Yes, sir.
And you know, our impact fees is what, 4th lowest in the U.S., but we're the most developing county. So we've got to get, if we're not going to raise taxes, the revenue's got to come from somewhere, and even raising what we're doing, we're still going to be one of the very lowest in the U.S. So at the last meeting, we said the TS was probably a way to get us where we need to go, and we should stick to our guns.
Any further comment, questions? So then, motion to send it back to council with the TS.
So moved.
All in favor?
mean, it just goes back to council. I mean, I think.
Right.
Conversation needs to be had as a whole.
Sure it does, and so, but it's just a recommendation.
Well, we gotta move it with something, Mark. We
And we
can't.
just sending the impact fees forward as it is. I mean, we've already voted on TS on our budget for first reading, right? So we just send it forward.
We
send it
can
on
do
to
that.
conversation.
Correct, assuming you send it so without a recommendation.
Yeah, this is more or less just renewing the whole process
Might
for
keep you
another
from wanting to raise
5
taxes.
years.
I keep you from wanting to raise taxes. The TS.
They're finding money to pay the public safety all over the place, so we're doing good. They're doing
We
good.
got a motion on the floor. At first, send it back with the TS recommendation. Are the votes on the committee to do that? Or do you want to make another motion?
I think just let's send it on as a whole, discuss it.
We have to send it with something to right. That's the purpose we're here, is to pick an option. We're gonna move forward. Am I right or wrong?
Ultimately, council as a whole will choose the option. At first reading, council as a whole gave the TS option for INR, and part of why it's in front of you is it needs to be adopted as the comprehensive plan is, which goes through Planning Commission and INR, which is why it's here. So you can adopt the study as is, that's the requirement. The recommendation on the options is not required. Y'all can do that as a committee, or you can defer that to council as a whole. But we need a positive recommendation on the study as a whole.
All right, Mike, so do you want to amend or change your motion?
I would then motion that we send it as a whole to adopt as the council versus just our committee. So it's spread out over 11 people versus 4.
Okay. Any further discussion on that point? All in favor?
Aye.
Got a second? All right, moving on. And Mr. Gilreath, do you have any other business for the committee?
No, sir.
You don't have any? I've got one thing on April the 22nd at 9:30 a.m., 1253 Vereen Road. We're going to have a groundbreaking for the Ana Area Rec Center. I want to thank this council for your efforts of supporting the funding in this, and so, because it is a rec center that has been desperately needed, and it's going to be well received in the western part of Horry County. And I thank you for the funding on that. Thanks staff for arranging the funding and for getting all of this done. And so, Mr. John, and so I know I've been on you hot and heavy. Yes, sir. And so, but it's going to be your day too. And so, I thank you for that. And so, for the hard work. So you know, come on out, and so we'll have a good time. Have some good news on that day. All the reports are in your department. Anything further from the staff? Mr. Gilbert, Mr. Spivey? Everybody's good. Look for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. We're adjourned.